It's an SLK kind of day. We have actually two of them in the shop. One of them is actually Magic Mike's. We're going to talk about them today. Let's get started. This one just arrived yesterday. It is a 2012 SLK350. And unlike the one that's beside it, which is an AMG, being an SLK32 AMG, this one is not an AMG model. But this customer had some services that needed to be done, and he just watched the video that you guys just saw on the life of vehicles, the life of transmissions and things of that nature. And he also has taken heed. This thing is like at 109,000 miles. He said, hey, I'm going to take your advice. Let's do the transmission on this thing while it's in here. So we get to do the transmission service on this based off of that video, which is very cool. We also have a Jag that's way down there we'll be doing a video on soon. It's another one that's getting some of those not for the life of the vehicle service items. So we'll go ahead and take a look around this thing, then I'll get Magic Mike out here. This has a very modern front end. It looks really cool. When it first pulled up, I thought, wow, that actually looks really cool. I haven't seen a whole lot of the newer SLKs, and this one really has a nice fancy look to it. We come around to the side, you can see it has a red Mercedes emblems on the wheels, which really stand out. It looks really nice. This one is in very good shape. It was driven up here, and it's kind of rainy and misty out, so you can see there's a little bit of dirt or whatever on the paint job. And the back end is equally clean as well. You can see that there's a panel piece missing here, right, and the customer did make us aware of that. They're having a body shop handle that, so we're not going to be messing with that. Other than the dirt that's on there, it is actually a very nice, clean car. Let's go ahead and look under the hood. Go ahead and get this hood opened up. So which engine is this, Magic Mike?
This is the 276 engine. These were the latest generation. About the last time that I was working at a Benz dealership, these were still pretty new. It's a decent six-cylinder. It makes quite a bit of power, but it just wasn't something that I was really into.
It does look like it's a lot more complex than some of the earlier 350s, like a ML350 or whatever.
Yeah, these new six-cylinders, they made a few changes that made them a little bit more complicated, but still just a naturally aspirated six-cylinder under the hood. I can't complain about that.
Luckily, there's no major issues with the engine. We're not having to tear it apart or do anything crazy. We're just doing the basic A9 services, which is actually here. What does that consist of on the A9 service? What does that mean?
So for any time you ever have questions about your service, always refer to the owner's manual for the direct information. But on this car, it's going to be an oil change. I'm going to check and inspect filters, both the cabin and the air filter. I'm going to check condition of brake fluid. I'm checking condition of coolant, just making sure that everything else is looking good under the hood. But for the most part, the A9 service is going to be an oil change and an inspection.
Very good. The customer was concerned about doing a brake fluid flush, but that's not part of A9 service, is it?
Correct. That's part of the B service that's coming up after this, so that'll be due next year.
And we checked the fluid with your moisture little tester, and it tests good, huh?
Yep. There is a little bit of moisture in there, but again, it's not due until next year, so I think he's good for another year.
Good for another year. Very good. Well, let's go ahead and have a look at the interior, and then I'll pull you back over and we'll look underneath.
Sounds good.
All right.
So, ladies and gents, they've left me a note. Do not start. I'm even directed not even to turn the key on. So Wizard tells me it has 109,000 miles on it. Let's get this note out of the way. They've done some work underneath, and we'll learn about that in just a second, so why I can't actually turn it on. But you can see classic Mercedes design there. Love those round gauges. Aren't they just beautiful? Easy to read, nice center section there. You can see the image there when the door was opened up. It just turned off. You could see a little bit of what it was talking about. But again, the dash looks really nice up there. Nice dark charcoal gray up there. Classic round adjustable vents. And I love these vents. There's never a spot they can't reach. There's so many cars that it only goes so far and you feel like, but I only need it over just a fraction of an inch more. Not happening. Got an infotainment screen there, and if we had been able to turn it on, we might have been able to see what it was, but not today. So we do have a kind of a classic design here. They've modernized it a little bit with the push button, but we have those nice round selectors as well. So we do have some creature comforts. It's kind of hard to see with the light there, but in this row we can see that there are some adjustments for our seats and heating and all that nice stuff. as we scroll down. The wood is in nice shape, no cracks. Mercedes does have that trouble, but not this new of a car. Has some nice, again, dark charcoal gray leather on those seats with a serious bolster. Look at that on those sides. A lot of times you get a little bit of a cushion, but this is stitched in differently, so it actually has actual real bolster, not just a bump on the side where they put more padding. Good door card. Looks like they left a snack. Looks like Magic Mike has been good about resisting that temptation. Back seat, of course there isn't one. It's a two-seater convertible. Got a little bitty pouch there we can store a few items in, and it does have the windbreak when the top is down. Has a nice shelf back there. You can kind of see through that mesh that you could store some items, obviously when the top's up. I didn't mention this earlier. Right next to the little center console area is this little bitty lid that opens up. This is where we can control that convertible top. Hide it away, then it just becomes a nice place you can then rest your hand. Here we are at the steering wheel, ladies and gents. So we've got some nice wood on the top and on the bottom. If I can scroll down there, just have a bit of a flat bottom here just to make a little bit more leg room. Have our lovely Mercedes symbols in the center, and again some controls for our phone and our controls for the system in the center dash area there. So pretty classic Mercedes in here. Let's get this thing up in the air.
Here's our differential, nice and dry. Boots look good. Nothing's leaking, the shocks are dry. Sway bar links are good. Brakes are good. Everything looks dry, boots are good. Brakes are good. Sway bar link is good. Our flex disc looks to be in very good shape. It doesn't need to be replaced. Here's our center resonator. Here's our other flex disc, which is also in very good shape. Here's our transmission mount, which I can get my finger underneath of it, so it's still good for quite a while longer. And then we have the transmission, which you can see the pan is off. I'll go grab the pan real quick. So here we have the pan, we've had it removed, and here is the filter for it. While we're doing the service, we're going to put a new filter and everything. You can see the fluid is kind of a gray color, but you knew from experience, Magic Mike, that there was some variations here, wasn't there?
Yeah, there's a couple of different options. There is a blue or a red fluid, depending on the model year they transferred over. Just depending on the transmission, they made a couple of adjustments, and it's just something to keep an eye on if you're ever doing this yourself.
So this is where you can get into some trouble here. This one actually takes the blue fluid. There's a package called A89 that's just on the data card for this car. You look it up online with the VIN number. But this has the reduced friction transmission, which takes this blue fluid. The filter you buy, the fluid you buy, is completely different than the non-reduced friction transmission. So if you don't get the right fluid in here, you could literally cook this thing, and the customer probably is not going to be very happy at that point, and you get to buy a transmission rebuild. Mm-hmm. We could tell this fluid was definitely not red, because they're usually brown when...
Yeah, they're usually a brown or sometimes even a black color if it's been that long since it's been changed, but this one was a little different, so we know that it's the blue fluid in this one. The other thing to keep in mind when you're doing these transmission pans, if you're changing out your fluid, when you go to fill these up, they don't have a transmission dipstick like they used to. You have to fill it from the bottom through this drain plug.
Let me show that to you guys. So you see this little green plastic piece here? This is actually where you fill the transmission from the bottom. There's a little tube that goes into here, and then you can squeeze the fluid into the pan until it runs over. There's a procedure to do that. In a previous video you guys saw where I told you that they're making it harder for you to work on your cars. They don't want you servicing your transmission. They don't want you fooling with the stuff. And this is proof. The average person on jack stands is probably going to see this and go, I can't. This is not something I can work with. I'm going to have to go to the dealer or independent shop like here. So it is good to service your transmission, but you can see that they don't want you messing with it, but it still can be done. You can get the tool to fill this on Amazon. You can get the fluid for this on Amazon, so it can be done. So what did you guys do in the dealership like the VIN number would pull up and show you everything about the car. And
At the Mercedes-Benz dealership, we have a program called WIS AZRA, and that was what we would use, and that would pull up not only just the data card, but it would pull up just about everything we would need to know about the vehicle. It was a really great tool to have. I wouldn't have to second guess anything.
so you knew exactly what fluid, the filter, everything. And
Yep, we could check it all from that manual.
yep. So that's some of the data and some of the things independent shops or even dealerships have that is value. There's value there to have that. If an independent shop were to purchase that with software, things that would cost money, which means I have to charge you. So you have to keep in mind there's also so much money it takes to run a shop to do the job right. So make sure we don't destroy your car. Here's our oil pan. That's a funky little oil pan, huh?
Yeah, that lower oil pan is a unique shape for sure.
It's like a little half moon or something. Mm-hmm. Everything else looked good on here though, huh?
Yeah, everything else looks nice and dry.
Steering rack's nice and dry, brakes, struts. Nothing's leaking on here. Mm-hmm. These brakes are good. Struts are good. You can see the oil pan there. You can see the serpentine belt and things. Everything's nice and dry there. And in this area is the radiator and condenser, but we don't see any fluid coming out of the holes or anything, so it's all good to go there. Let's go ahead and get this thing on the ground. So we've gotten everything done for the customer that they wanted, and they actually added the transmission service based on the video they just saw, which is really cool. So that one will be all serviced up pretty soon, be ready to go, but you've been servicing a lot on your SLK32.
Yes, this car, I do enjoy it, but it does need a lot of love. We did a lot of work here in the shop. You know, we put a rear differential in it, and I've just been finding more and more things. I want this car to drive like it did, just like when it was new.
Even though it's an older one and it's kind of a hoopty, it came from Hoovie's garage. It's a hoopty.
Exactly, yeah. This is the R170 chassis. That one behind you is the R172 chassis. They're almost
172.
exactly 10 years apart.
But this one would easily outrun that one.
That's what I'm thinking. That V6 naturally aspirated still has quite a bit of power, but supercharged, I think I've still got the edge.
This one's supercharged. So there's been a lot of work done in the shop. You guys have seen it on Hoovie's garage on this one, and just like he mentioned, he's got more work that he needs to be done. If you want to follow that, you'll have to go to Magic Mike the Mechanic, which is his YouTube channel. There's a link in the description below. You definitely want to check out his channel. So if you want to keep up with Magic Mike, what's he got going on, what's he working on, there is where you can find out. So make sure to click on the link for that. What else do you got left to do on that thing?
I still have quite a few things to do. I've got a couple of squeaks and noises. I've got to do a center carrier bearing on this coming up soon. I need to have my wheels do some alloy finish and repair on those. And a few other things. Need to get windows adjusted, regulators replaced. So plenty of work to do on this
Oh,
car.
wow, you got your work lined out.
Yeah,
So there you go. A cheap German car is the most expensive car you can buy.
for sure.
I almost think it could cost as much as a cheap Ferrari.
There's a chance. If I were to go through, make it absolutely perfect showroom condition, there's a chance.
Yeah. So that happens a lot. That's why I don't work on BMWs, because there's people that can afford an older BMW. They pay $3 or $4 grand for a 328 or a 325, and then realize it's $5 grand to fix everything. They say, nope, I'm not fixing anything. And then it just gets ran into the ground. It's really sad. So I'm really happy to see that you're bringing this one back from the dead. That's really cool. So this customer is actually not local. They just happen to be in the area. I don't know if it's work related or what it is, but they happen to be passing through. The car is going to be in this area for a little while, and they definitely wanted to get it to Omega to have the services done while it's this close to the vicinity of our shop. So we're very happy the customer brought this for us to do the services. Also very happy to help you make your transmission last longer than the dealer or the factory specified 150,000 miles. These are very fun cars. They're awesome little cars. So you can just whip them around. They're lightweight. They're a two-seater. They're very enjoyable to drive. So I'm definitely glad we got to service it. If you're curious what kind of tools we've used to service this, or we're going to use to service it, check my Amazon affiliates link in the description below, which is also a perfect place for gift ideas. If someone's asking what they should buy you for Christmas, the answer is in that link. You can send them that link and they can look through all the things we have for sale and buy you something from there. Or someone gets you an Amazon gift card for Christmas and you need some tools, some really good tools, which a lot of the stuff that we have listed are things we actually do use in the shop. So That's very good gift ideas there. Make sure to click that link and also hit the subscribe button because there is many more cool videos to come. Thanks for watching. In the previous video, actually the one we just did, you guys saw about how, let me back up a little bit. I got some fluid.